Hello class. In this video I want to go over how to do a blow-up section, which is the second part of our first section assignment. So if I go to instructions here in your PDF that you'll have, you see you're basically just taking the left hand side of that section, putting it at a different scale and putting it portrait on the page. And so I'm going to show you slightly differently than the way the instructions say how to set this up, and I'll tell you why. And there's no one or wrong right answer, but here's my section here. This is in CAD. I'm going to go back to model space. The reality is we're not going to do any more drawing of the wall section. It is drawn already. So why copy and redraw it? That's going to be, if you're in an office or you're making changes, you're going to forget to go back and change things. If it's drawn, it's drawn. Reuse it. There's different ways to get around to be able to reuse that drawing without having to make a copy. Now if this were more of a design section rather than a construction section, then maybe that would be a reason to start with a copy, maybe, but there are ways around this. And so the way we're going to do it is we're going to have to use different layers to make this work. The issue is that well, actually, yeah, because we have different notes. Actually, your drawing's not going to have any notes from the other side, so that's going to be sort of easy to handle notes. The dimensions, I'm going to say turn off. The dimensions, I know they show dimensions in the section, but show dimensions in one spot. It's fine, one or the other, and the way that, since this isn't going to fit on the page, I'm going to turn them off. That's going to be sort of the easy solution for you. And then the batting is going to be a thing. So since I don't want these notes and these dimensions, and I'm going to be working at a different scale, the instructions say that this scale is going to be 3/8 scale. So I need to first start by changing this to 3/8. Right? And you can see that some of these things disappeared because they were annotative. Some didn't, though. Like this note and this piece down here, they didn't change. So I'm going to have to turn those notes off. I'm just going to do it on the layer. Go to layer 0 so I can turn off. So I can see, just for now, so I can see and turn those off. And if you other things that you didn't need, make sure on the right layer so they turn off. Now if I need to add new notes, which I'm going to have to do, since I turned off that note layer, I'm going to have to go to layers. I'm going to make I'm going to select my text layer. And I'm just going to select it so all the properties are the same as this layer, and I'm just going to call it text blow up. Alright, and so I'm going to just make that my layer, my current layer. Oops, it's hidden. I need to unfreeze it to make it my current layer. Why don't you turn on? Click on it. I can't see. There we go. I don't know why it wasn't freezing. I was just misclicking there or something. So now I made my current layer. Now I can close. And you would go ahead and on this layer now make all of your text. The reality is I'm using different scales, so I could get away. Well, what happens? Let's see what happens if I just don't do that. Well, yeah, see, I can't. It's because of those other circular things, and I could make a new layer just for that if I wanted to. The reality is I would do this using X references and other things. If I were doing this in the profession, make it even easier, but we haven't gone over that, so don't mind that. Anyway, I'm going to make a new layer. Now I can go and add all the notes. There's lots of notes on this. I'm not going to do them all. You know how to do that, but you're going to start by adding this, pulling it down and saying, let's see what note 1 says. It's, if I were to just do this one, 12" by 24" reinforced concrete footing, right? And number 2, I'll just do one more. Again, I'm going to sort of align my tags so they're nice and neat. 12" reinforced concrete foundation ball, so on and so forth. Right? You add the notes, you make them alignment, you add them where you need to go. Right? I'm going to say don't do dimensions. You'll see why in a second. And so since the wall section is already drawn, it's really only the notes that you need to add that are new. Okay. And then, so what I'm going to do now is this one's going to have to be portrait. So I'm going to have to go to my portrait drawing. I'm going to double click inside, and I'm going to find my section and then set this to 3/8. Scale right here. When I set it to there, my notes will come in. Of course, we see that's too tall, right? But we notice in the section, in the examples, is that we've got these little break lines in here, right there. So it's sort of shrinking everything down. It's making it nice and tight. So I'm going to do that all through viewport. Instead of copying, you could copy this drawing, cut it, and do all this. That's craziness. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do. Oh, you can see my batting. I'm going to have to change my batting here too. I'll do that in a second. Let me just start this up. So I'm going to grab my viewport. I'm going to drop it right down here at the bottom of the window. Might even need to go lower. Oh, that was my title block, not my viewport. Let me undo that. Undo. I have to zoom way in to make sure I got this viewport. I think I got it this time. I do. See, and it cuts it off, right? And this is not going to fit the way they have this drawn. I'm going to have to add more. I think I'm going to have to add some here. And the problem is we're going to run out of room to put notes. That's the other tricky part. I'll just do from below the window. Hopefully that'll be enough room. Jeez. So then I can copy the viewport up, and leave a little bit of space, and then basically hold pan and hold shift so I go straight down, right? And I need to show the top of the first floor. Oops. Pan and then hold shift. Don't hold shift first, right? So if I do that, then this becomes my first floor section, and I can reduce my second floor in here and make it sort of pretty tight because I feel like I'm running out of room. And copy this again. Let's just give it a little bit of gap. Pan, hold shift to show the top edge of my second floor. That's probably enough there. Copy. Pan up again. Oops, I did copy twice, I think. Pan, hold shift. I can draw the top edge. My plan, now I've got a little extra room here, and I probably want to take as much of this as I can, so I'm going to move that up. Move this up a little bit. And that means I can extend that down a little bit, give myself more room to put notes in. Give myself more room there. Move this up. Give myself more room there and more room there. Get a little bit of that window squished in there. So we have this. Now I don't need this. I need the squiggly line. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stay on my text layer, and I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to draw a break line, actually. I can do a break line. Break line. Typing in break line for the shortcut, and I want to snap to. Actually, what I'm going to do is I want to shrink these in. There's no reason why my section needs to go so far over. I'm going to shrink all these in first. I'll draw a guideline down to snap it in place. Yes. Okay. So I can draw a break line from here to here, and then put that break line here. Oops. Let's see, I'm surprised it did it so big. So I'll just draw one. That looks pretty good. Like that. And I can copy it. Make it a little bit longer on this side. So just draw your break line, copy it into place at each edge of the viewports, right? And so that was, you know, a little complicated, but I didn't have to redraw all that. I didn't have to erase anything. You just go ahead and do it. Now we see we sort of have to do the same thing. I notice that there's no text here. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'll tell you what's going on there. But we also have this batting problem. The batting is set to the line type scale. So the reality is what we're going to have to do, unfortunately, is redraw. I'm going to have to turn off the batting. I'm going to go to my layers. I'm going to turn off batting. And I'm going to make a new layer, selected batting, and so make batting 2. It's that line type scale. It's set for the different scales, so I need to, come on, I don't know why. Batting 2, that's why I'm going to do batting 2. There we go. Make it my current layer, and I'm going to turn batting off, and it's gone. But what I'm going to have to redraw is basically at 3/8 scale, redraw this batting, right? And I'm going to have to go to properties, and it's going to have to be different settings than it was before because of the different scale. And we can just estimate this. Do that one at like 0.5. Draw this one from the center line up. It's going to be, I don't know, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. That's 0.4. That's good at 0.4, which means 0.5 is too small here. So I'll say it's 0.7. That's too big, so I'll go with 0.6. Yeah, 0.6, perfect. And do that all the way up. So put another piece of batting here, put another piece of batting here, put another piece of batting there, just like you would have. But I'm just going to just do these 2 pieces of batting for this demonstration. Then what you'll do is when you come to this portrait, you're like, great, okay, I see this batting, it's perfect. And I have my notes, and you have everything else, and you have it finished. The issue is we don't have text here. But also, if you go back, and I didn't rename this, let me rename this really quick to Section A. I mentioned renaming it in the last video, but I didn't actually do it. Section A, no, I was using cap locks, it's okay. Section A also has my text off. It also has these pieces of text off because I turned them off in the other one. This is a problem. I want to see them all, right? So what I really want to do is I want to turn my text on. I'm going to turn my text on. Now I see this list looks fine, and I turn this text on, and this looks fine down here, and you have to change this. I'll talk about that in a second, but now I see this text that I don't want on anymore. They turned off last time, purposefully, right? So what you need to do is you need to turn this off in the viewport. You can freeze layers in viewport only. So I'm going to double click inside here, and I'm going to go to my text layer, and this button right here is freeze in viewport. You can see that took that blue dotted line I didn't want, it took it away. And so I should have done this before, but I can freeze in all the viewports now. I'm just going to select the next viewport, double click inside of it, go to my text, freeze in viewport. Double click inside this one, come down here, freeze in viewport. Double click in down here, and freeze in viewport. Oops, undo that scale. Okay, so we can see as now I have the original text layer off for this drawing, but I still have all this drawing down here. And again, we call this A107. And you're going to have to rescale this to fit, just like we did last time. You know, A107, section, Enlarged Section A, I guess is what we're calling it. So finish filling in all this information correctly. I don't need to do that for you at this point, but you can see you can fill all that in. And if we go here, we can see now my text is back and it is all working, but we have the same problem with the batting. Right now this batting is the large batting and not the small one. And if I turned on batting, what I have is I see both battings overlapping on top of each other, which is no good. So I need to come into here and select a viewport, and in my big section I have to hide in viewport batting 2. And now my batting looks correct. And if I come over to this guy, you can see I've got the double batting again because it's a completely different drawing. So I got to select in here and hide in viewport batting, the original batting one, and we can see that one goes away. And of course here it's multiple viewports, so I have to sort of hide in each one of these viewports again. Hide, and I should say not hide but freeze in viewport is the proper terminology there. And with that, I will, we'll have done that. And if you kept your dimensions on, your dimension text will hopefully, well, there's ways of working around to show it in both. I'm just not going to show it in this one. But you want to add all your notes. There's like 33 of them. So you want to make sure you have all your 33 notes in. That's the only thing you're adding to update this drawing. It's really just working with the viewports and adding the second text layer and the second batting layer and freezing those in the correct viewports. And again, if you have questions, you can always come and ask me. But then this drawing and this drawing will then be due, of course, at the end of next class. So with that, I know it's a lot of work, but good luck. It sets up our next drawings to move quickly through them. So see you next time.